Communicators. This is AC Osberg coming at you for another charismatic communication breakdown of the public speaking world champion 2017, Manoj Vasudewan, Pull Less, Ben More. This is a great speech. I'm going to break down what I think is the most important aspects of it. And if you have any more comments that you want to get put in, if you have any more ideas about what you thought was great about the speech, I'd love you to comment below. And let's take a look at Pull Less, Ben More.
I was 20.
Just before we start, I'd like to just point out something really quickly. The pause he just did before he spoke to everybody is a pause that I think every speaker should use. Because in the World Championship of Public Speaking and Toastmasters International specifically, when you pause, your speech doesn't, you can pause before your speech begins. So as soon as you make your first gesture or movement, that's when they start the time. And you only have 7 minutes, but it doesn't start until you make that first gesture. So pausing, breathing, smiling, showing the audience that you're here and you're ready to do your speech is what you should do and what you need to do to take a breath, take a moment, and then get yourself together. So perfect use of that pause.
4 years old. I had a nice job, nice car, nice hair. Still, my girlfriend didn't stay for long. Have you ever had problems in your relationships with others? What was wrong with them?
Just like to point out the humor that he's using right at the beginning, getting everybody to laugh right away with his I was missing hair, what was wrong with them. It really starts to connect the audience with him, and that's a perfect use of humor.
Contest chair, ladies and gentlemen. When I was 24, I was living in India. I was still waiting for Cupid to shoot his arrow and find me the perfect partner.
I'd just like to point at this out at the beginning that Cupid's arrow is already getting into the theme of the speech, and you'll see this later on when it all comes together, but he's already setting things up, which is perfect. It really adds to the structure and the flow of the speech.
Guess what? It seems Cupid doesn't live in India.
Also, using humor, Cupid doesn't live in India is just a great way to, again, connect with the audience. He uses a lot of humor here, which I think is awesome. I love humor and I love to laugh. So does everybody else. So that's great.
Soon I went to another angel who had all the answers. My mama. Mama, I can't find good girls. How will I ever marry? She said, no problem. We can fix it. My mama offered to introduce me to some good girls.
Just as he goes into talking about his mom, I would like to point out that's a great way to engage the audience because everyone has a mother. Obviously, we were all born, right? So using your mother or your father, usually most people have a mother at least, is a great way to engage the audience and get them to really care about not only you but the characters you have and how you're connecting with them. So add your mother into your speech. It's a good way to just connect with everybody because, like I said, everyone has a mother. We were all born, right? So,
yeah. Nice, mama. Soon arrangements were made for my meeting with the first prospect, Sindhu. There she was. Wow! In a beautiful blue dress. She looked like a star from Bollywood. She looked at...
I'd like to just point out the way he's using his body language and the way he's using his vocal variety here. It really engages you, and it's not boring monotone. Like I've seen some speakers that are monotone and they have a kind of a boring voice. Like, wow! It's just the way he uses vocal variety. I think is really perfect there as he starts to talk about his girlfriend.
Me, like I was George Clooney. Cupid shot his arrow and in line. Time if you got into a new relationship, what were you expecting? I imagine spending the rest of my life holding her hand, listening to music, and doing hot yoga.
Right there. Doing hot yoga. We all know what he was. We all were thinking the same thing, but he said yoga instead of what everybody else was thinking. And he also does this yoga gesture above his head, which is another. I talked about this in the first video in Ramona J. Smith's speech as well. It's the body language anchor. So now the judges can check off, yes, he does use his body language, and they can even check that it's really good body language because he uses these anchors within the speech to really, really drive the message home that he is using his body language, that he's getting those extra points.
Few weeks later, on the 4th of July, we got married. On America's Independence Day, I lost my independence.
Even though this is an international competition, this is held in America. So losing my independence at Independence Day is funny because they're American. And most people, even I'm Canadian, and I even get this. I think it's a funny play on words, and that's really all about knowing your audience. So knowing who they are, what would be funny, what would not, and he really hits it home with that. On America's Independence Day, I lost my independence. I think that's really funny and a great play on words, and also a great way to engage the audience.
We sailed through our honeymoon. Then differences started to emerge. She liked outdoors. I liked indoors. She loved swimming. I feared drowning.
Yeah, that's funny too. I feared drowning. She loves swimming. I feared drowning. And as you can see, he starts to move across the stage and starts to pick up the pace and the urgency. And this really gives it a lot of feeling of how he's feeling frustrated. He's feeling like this isn't really working out as well as it should. So it's a great way use of vocal variety, also body language as well, to really show his frustration in the moment.
She liked cooking. I like to tell her how I miss my mama's cooking. Hey, I didn't want to follow her ways, and she wasn't willing to change. We argued over big things, over small things, even for nothing. I used logic. I used emotion. I even showed her a role model. Darling, why can't you just be perfect like me?
Why can't you just be perfect like me? That is a great use of a way of connecting to the audience and showing that, you are what most people would think most men are like, generally, is perfect like me. So it really gives you an insight into his character, and that also shows that he does have character flaws, and that he isn't perfect. He also is having problems. So it really helps you connect and gain more rapport with the audience, which he really is really good at. So
Within 6 months, we grew apart. Under one roof, we were two people living in solitude.
So this is a perfect also body language anchor with the one roof where he held his hands above his head, and also the vocal variety of the softer tone really sets the pace for setting it up for the change he's going to be feeling. Because right now he's feeling desperate and alone, and they're under one roof, but they're in solitude. No one holding hands, no music. They're living together, but they're not. And anybody who's been in a relationship like that can really feel and understand how he feels. So that really helps with the rapport with the audience.
No holding hands, no music, only silence. Looking for solutions, I asked my friend Jay. He just had his divorce. He was the expert.
Jay just had his divorce and he was the expert. Anybody who's been through a relationship problem probably has a friend, maybe not named Jay, but someone like that who is an expert on relationships, even though they're divorced. So that's why it's funny. It adds some little bit of humor to this. And he really, as he gets into this, he really starts to show you Jay. Jay's the character that he's really, really going to start to portray. And you can actually see, it's as if Jay is there, which is really cool. And I enjoy this part.
Jay said, man, life is short. Don't suffer. Separate. No, Jay, I just want to fix it. Exactly. My lawyer will fix it. I called.
Just before we get into this, I noticed this the last time I watched this, and I really wanted to bring it up because I thought this was kind of an aha moment for me, is the prop. Now you can see in his left hand, he has a card, a business card from Jay's lawyer. And he's using the card as a prop, a subtle prop, and he's going to get rid of it really quickly because if you use props like last year when I competed, I had a mirror, and when I started out with the mirror, it was a little distracting holding the mirror, shining in people's eyes and that sort of thing. But I've noticed Ramona J. Smith did this too, is they use subtle props and then they get rid of them really quickly. So you'll see it here.
My mama. Next day, she spoke to both Sindhu and me. She said, you will never find a partner who's 100% perfect. You fall in love because of Cupid's arrow. But what keeps you in love is Cupid's bow.
So right now he's setting up Cupid's arrow, Cupid's bow. And this isn't coming just from, he's not coming up with this by himself. He's letting his mama do it. And this is something that I've heard other speakers call the guide. Guide telling you that point. So it's not, if I come up with the idea myself, it's going to come off as, okay, great, look at you. But you're not the smart one in this situation. The guide is. His mama's the smart one, right? So his mama is going to be the one who tells him about Cupid and his arrow, and the whole message comes from mama, not from him. So that's perfect, and that's a good way to get across the audience and build more rapport.
String have a great partnership. The more the string pulls back, the more the bow bends. Ego is what pulls the string. Still, the mighty bow bends because it cares for the partner. When she pulls, you bend. When you pull, she bends. If you pull too hard, your relationship will break. If you want to fix it, both of you need to pull less, bend more.
So as you can see here, this is the message of the speech, and it's also the name of the speech. Pull less and bend more. And he's slowing down so the audience can really soak that in and really get the message. And it's simple, and it can be explained with the analogy of Cupid's bow, pulling it and the bow bending. And the more you pull, you can't pull too hard or else the bow will break. And this is perfect. This is perfect. And I think this really gets the message across here right at the end, what you want to do.
Pull less, bend more. Have you seen anyone who pulls too hard? Have you pulled too hard? Since then, during arguments, I became more flexible. When Sindhu wanted to go out, I joined her. When she wanted to swim, I joined her at the shallow end.
Another great use of humor. And I talked about this in the previous video, into that 2018 speech with Ramona J. Smith, talking about how she was married for 8 long, you think she's going to say years or she has months, because that's unexpected. And this is the same thing. I joined her at the shallow end because he previously said that he doesn't know how to swim. So he doesn't like swimming. So that's really funny, and I really enjoy that.
When I became nice, she became nicer. Soon she started cooking better than Mama. In my search for the perfect partner, I discovered that perfect partners are those who keep perfect choosing to pull less, bend more.
And he's bringing this back again. Pull less and bend more. And I talked about this in the previous video as well. That's his phrase that pays. That's his phrase. And his phrase is also the name of the speech, which Ramona J. Smith used as well. Still standing, right? And this is pull less, bend more. So if it's the name of the speech and you're slowing it down and you're really getting slow and simple and you have this analogy, the audience is really going to remember this. And I also talked about this last time as well. If you watched my previous video, you want the audience to remember things 3 days later. You don't want them to just remember it when they leave. You don't want them just to remember it that night when they get home. But when they really need it, when they're at work or when they're having a fight with their partner and they're thinking, pull less, bend more, right? That's something that can really change somebody's life and impact them. So not only is it a good way to get points in your international speech, but it's also a good way to, which is the most important thing, is to impact somebody's life. And I think that's, what a great analogy.
You can see problems in any relationship, within families, between friends, between colleagues, between races, cultures, nations. Today it seems like a world is breaking apart, isn't it? Still, when you look at this room, you see people from 142 different nations sitting together, shoulder to shoulder, and getting along fine.
This is great too. He understands who Toastmasters are, and he understands this is an international audience, and he understands that there's a lot of conflict in the world. And he's relating that all back to all these people in this room who are all from different countries, who all came from different places. And if they don't get along with each other, if they use his message, pull less and bend more, then maybe they can get along. And I think that's a really cool way to engage the audience.
How is that possible? Toastmasters, you are proof that no matter what our differences are, by choosing to pull less and bend more, we can stay together. Last month, my wife and I celebrated our 19th anniversary. Yes, that's the same wife.
So yes, that's the same wife. I think that's funny. And so the audience thought it was funny too. So just thought I'd point that out.
Do you think we still argue? Yes, but now even when we argue, we are still holding hands.
Now I mentioned this earlier in the beginning of the speech where he's talking about holding hands with his girlfriend at the beginning. And now he's bringing it back to they're still holding hands. Because that's a key aspect in any relationship, is if you're not holding hands, if you're not affectionate to each other, you're not going to be having a very good or lasting relationship, right? So I think that's really cool how he brings that all around.
My mama is no more with us, but her words still rings in our ears. Pull less and bend more. Pull less and contest chair.
I love the way he ends this. Pull less and the audience gets it. He said it enough times. He's hammered it into them. Pull less and bend more. And then Mr. Contest Chair. And it's at this point that the speech is ended. I think this is a fantastic speech. And I really enjoyed breaking it down because it's really helping me with my international speech. And I hope it helped you. If you're in an international speech competition this year and you want to win the world championship, then I hope this breakdown helps you understand kind of the structure of the speech, understand how to add humor in, the subtle props, the body language, really the things you need to get that message across. If you like this video, please subscribe below. And if you have any comments for me, I'd love to hear you. This is Charismatic Communication. I'm AC Osberg. I help you communicate with yourself, others, and the world around you. See you on the stage.